Logic, you are easily one of the worst rappers to ever grace a microphone. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Some people say that musicians can never truly retire, and for Logic, that statement is as true as can be. After 6 albums and an absurd amount of streams, Bobby Boy called it quits in a tearful and heartfelt live stream on Twitch. But after 2 short years, he would return with a new sound, new energy, and more focus than ever when it comes to making music that's authentically him. Since his return, he's released 2 albums, Vinyl Days and College Park, and we're all currently awaiting the arrival of Ultra 85, his opus and the ending of his quadrilogy of albums that began with The Incredible True Story. But what caused his retirement in the first place, and what sparked him to return to music after only 2 short years away? Well, it all started with
acceptance is a drug, and in my 20s I was ODing. And it's like, this is a real thing. You want to be accepted, you want to be loved by everybody, especially as artists and creatives. Like, dude, we want to be loved by everybody, and that's just not realistic.
Before we get here, we need to go back to where things truly started for the rapper, aka his mixtape era. Things kick off in Maryland, where the artist born in 1990 released his first mixtape, Psychological, the mixtape, under the name Psychological. From there, he went on to release his Young Sinatra tapes under Logic. I'll stand by my opinion that these tapes are some of the best mixtapes ever made. While he was releasing this series of mixtapes, he ended up finding critical acclaim for his third in the series, under the title of Young Sinatra, Welcome to Forever. Logic was already growing a buzz up to this point, but YS3 is what ended up taking him to the next level after the tape was downloaded 100,000 times in a single day. It was a 20-song mixtape holding features from multiple artists who blew up in this period of time, from John Bellion and Gene Aiko, all the way to Kid Ink and Trinidad James. Not only did it garner tons of praise and popularity, but it also led Logic to signing his record deal with Def Jam Recordings, who he actually was with up until about 2023 when he finally went independent. And now that he has his record deal, things should only go up from this point. And they did. In 2014, Logic released Under Pressure, which sits platinum certified and is one of the best debut albums of all time. From top to bottom, this record is stacked with production and lyricism, and it's just incredible. What's also incredible is his second studio album that he released the following year in 2015, titled The Incredible True Story. This album sold 135,000 in its first week, went platinum, and marked back-to-back top 5 entries into the Billboard 200 for our guy. What's even more unique is that for this album, Logic decided to create an entire world and storyline, flesh it out through the songs, and set him up to tell the rest of this story throughout his discography. He stayed active, with 2016 bringing the surprise release of his 5th mixtape, this one titled Bobby Tarantino. This is personally where I found out about Logic's existence in general, because his song Flexecution came out, and a younger me really liked that song, and from there I grew genuine enjoyment listening to his music up to that mixtape, because when he released his 3rd studio album, Everybody, things began to go south for the artist.
There's so much more that could have been better about this album. I'm feeling a light to decent 5.
When October of 2016 rolled around, Logic announced the title of his upcoming 3rd studio album, entitled Africarian, which would talk about his perspectives from being black and white and seeing life from both sides. Hey, did you guys know that he's biracial? Well, he ended up changing the title to Everybody and finally released it in May of 2017. He reached an all-time peak of success when this project was released, as his momentum was still carrying him straight up. The album contained 1-800-273-8, the Suicide Hotline song, and Black Spider-Man, but outside of those 2 songs, I don't really care for anything else on this album, but I digress, that's not what this video is about. The album sold 247,000 in the first week, and then dropped 96% in the second week, selling only 8,000 copies. This is why I said that he was being carried by his momentum into the release of Everybody. The album just wasn't that good. He bounced back from this disaster drop though, as in 2018 he began the rollout for Bobby Tarantino 2, which was his 6th mixtape, and debuted at number 1, his 2nd in a row. Following this, he released Young Sinatra 4, which was released as an album instead of a mixtape, and is honestly a really solid project. He even managed to get all of the surviving members of Wu-Tang onto the same song, which I genuinely don't think we'll see again. We're entering the back half of Logic's initial industry run as we enter this time, we start with Logic's soundtrack Supermarket. It's a soundtrack to accompany his novel he wrote, where he explored some alt-rock. The novel became a New York Times #1 bestseller, but the album overall flopped. Logic then announced his 6th studio album, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. This album received mixed reviews, but held an Eminem feature on the song Homicide, which felt like a full circle moment. Logic very obviously has been influenced by Eminem, and to see the two pair up on a song where they both give their all was a refreshing moment for me. Not only did he get the Eminem feature, but he also went #1 for the 3rd time in his career with 80,000 first week sales. And now we've reached July 16th carried with it the announcement. Logic announced to the world that his 7th album would be the end of his journey, and if Homicide wasn't a full circle moment, this sure was.
I appreciate you all. I bid you farewell, and as always, I'm obediently yours.
He started by feeling like he was under pressure and attacked the industry hungry, but at this stage in his life, he has a kid, had just turned 30, and he had grown tired of the negativity and attention and just overall downsides that come with fame. He'd been accepted, he'd been rejected, but now he'd found himself, and that pressure had been lifted. No Pressure debuted at #2, selling 221,000 in its first week, and was critically acclaimed as a return to form for the artist. And I'd have to agree. At this point, his albums were hit or miss for me, with some feeling really authentic and real, to others just feeling forced and just fake. The album closes with Obediently Yours, carrying a sample from the Orson Welles commentaries. This hit home for a lot of people, and even Orson Welles' youngest daughter, Beatrice, praised the use of the sample. And that's it. Just like that, Logic quit music forever, becoming a full-time father and Twitch streamer, and ending his career still commercially at the top. The year is 2021. Logic has just released a memoir entitled This Bright Future, detailing the ups and downs of his career and early life. Then, he releases Mars Only, Part 3. He released this to his YouTube channel, Bobby's World. June 16th, he announces his return. June 18th, he releases Intro, before dropping single after single as a lead up to Bobby Tarantino 3. But that's just a mixtape. He retired, there's no way he releases another full-length album. Never mind. Vinyl Days was released on June 17th, 2022, and it held positive reviews. His song La Donda on this record ended up sending Fantano into a frenzy because Logic straight up called him out, and it was a really funny thing to see unravel. This album was accompanied by a documentary about the creative process going into it, and his inspiration overall for the album. He was off to a great start with his second industry run, and his following project, College Park, would end up continuing this return to form. College Park debuted at #21 on the Billboard 200, and he posted a video about how he was excited for the album. He's having fun now, making music just to make music, not making it to please the masses. He's doing it for himself, and for the fans who never left his side, and that's a beautiful thing. Now, we await the release of Ultra 85, an album that's been teased by Logic for years but never saw the light of day. But Logic confirmed it's coming, and he's finally going to finish the story that had an incredible beginning a decade ago.